Right now, on To The Point. National outrage over immigration crackdowns.
We want ICE out of Minnesota.
Tonight, the changes the White House is making. In California, the growing debate between lawmakers tonight over federal agent accountability.
You violate the Constitution, you need to be accountable.
In a heated meeting, the Sacramento City Council is updating its immigration platform. Why some Sacramento residents say, though, it doesn't go far enough.
And a funding fight.
It's completely out of control.
The rising risk of another government shutdown this week. The man at the center of an immigration crackdown in Minnesota is now expected to leave the state. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino is reportedly out, and border czar Tom Homan is stepping in. President Trump today shuffled immigration operations and launched an investigation after Border Control agents killed Alex Preddy in Minneapolis just over the weekend. New tonight, a Customs and Border Protection agent notified Congress that 2 federal officers fired shots during that encounter with Preddy. The notification obtained by the Associated Press said officers tried to take Preddy into custody and he resisted, leading to the struggle. State investigators were at the crime scene just today, looking at markings on the wall for what appear to be bullet holes and inspecting a nearby traffic camera. Today, Minneapolis leaders responded, saying people living near the immigration crackdown, they want more than leadership changes.
We want ICE out of Minnesota. We don't want Bovino out of Minnesota. We want the 2,000 plus agents that are still here today occupying our communities and putting them at harm's risk for being abducted or even shot and killed. We want them out. We don't want swapsies. President Trump expressed confidence in his Homeland Security Secretary today, telling reporters at the White House that Kristi Noem is not stepping down. Trump met for nearly 2 hours with Noem and her senior advisor last night as she and the department faced backlash over their response to the shooting of another U.S. citizen at the hands of a federal agent. Now, Trump was asked directly whether Noem was going to step down.
Is Kristi Noem going to step down?
No. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure.
Today, California Congress members Doris Matsui and Mike Thompson called for sweeping accountability and oversight of the Department of Homeland Security and ICE, both locally and nationwide, after the recent killings by federal officers.
Kristi Noem must go. ICE needs to get out of our communities, and Congress must stop funding abuse masquerading as enforcement. I'm grateful to stand here with leaders who understand what is at stake.
Congressman Ami Bera also addressing immigration tonight. He hosted a closed-door roundtable with Sacramento County farmers and agricultural leaders. The meeting today focused on key challenges facing the region's agricultural sector.
You know, the folks that have been coming here over the past decade, a lot of refugees and others, that's different from folks that may have been here for 20 years, that have been working on the farms, that have been paying taxes, et cetera. You know, perhaps we can separate those and have different conversations. Can you provide some legal status, some protections to the folks that are participating in farming?
And California is taking another big step to limit federal immigration enforcement, advancing new legislation that would hold federal agents more accountable. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Ha has been tracking the bill and also has an update.
After a long debate on the Senate floor, the bill is advancing to the Assembly, where it will likely be amended to include an urgency clause so it can be effective immediately upon the governor's signature.
Ayes 30, noes 10. The measure passes.
It was a fierce debate on the Senate floor Tuesday. SB 747, the No Kings Act, passed 30-10. The no votes, all by Senate Republicans.
We're going to treat all law enforcement the same on an equal and level field, whether you're local, state, or federal. It doesn't matter. If you violate the Constitution, you need to be accountable.
The bill aims to close what Weiner and supporters call a legal loophole in a federal civil rights law, which allows citizens to sue local and state agents for constitutional violations, but excludes federal agents and officials.
We can't stop ICE from entering California and doing their enforcement. We can make very, very sure that we're doing everything in our power to protect our communities and to make sure that we're not going to be part of your mass deportation.
Strong opposition on the murky legal ground of state versus local authority.
This is truly a tension between federal law enforcement and state laws.
I rise in strong opposition to this bill.
And on the potential for additional liability for local law enforcement.
The way we talk about law enforcement sends signals far beyond this chamber.
Weiner responding.
The duties and defenses and immunities we're creating here are duties, defenses, and immunities that local and state law enforcement already have.
Republicans also taking the chance to criticize SB 54, the California Values Act, our so-called sanctuary law, which limits local and state law enforcement from assisting with federal immigration efforts.
If we would allow our law enforcement to cooperate with federal authorities, I'm telling you, we could probably make a deal between all of us and the federal government to get our handcuffs back. And let's get rid of the worst of the worst.
Jenny Ha, ABC 10.
Attorney General Rob Bonta and Governor Gavin Newsom are also talking about agent accountability. They say that California has a new portal in which Californians can report misconduct by federal agents. That link is oag.ca.gov/report misconduct. It's on your screen right there if you want to take a picture really quick. All right, happening right now, the Sacramento City Council is updating its immigration platform. Public comment has been happening for hours now. We know that more than 100 people signed up to speak and hundreds others commented online ahead of this meeting. I want to bring in ABC 10's Becca Habegger, who is joining us live outside of City Hall. Becca, tell us a little bit more about what the council is actually considering.
Yeah, Alex, the Sacramento City Council passed what's called its immigration platform back in 2017, and they haven't updated it since then. It essentially establishes the city's values with respect to protecting and embracing immigrant and refugee communities here in the city. Now, City Council members say updating the platform tonight is simply a matter of bringing it into compliance with state laws that have passed since 2017 and reaffirming the city's commitment to being a sanctuary city. However, many of the people speaking today at public comment say simply updating the immigration platform doesn't go far enough. They say it's symbolic speech that needs action and policy to back those words. We caught up ahead of the meeting with an organizer with Decarcerate Sacramento, as well as Councilmember Mai Vang, who is working on putting an action plan together, and you'll hear from them in that order.
Largely symbolic language and is not actual policy or action, and there's no actions attached to it. So what we're advocating for today is for them to actually update the city's sanctuary policy and develop an action plan.
I'm working with community and my colleagues to actually develop a Sacramento Community Safety Action Plan, because what I've also have learned is that good policy goes to die in implementation if you actually don't have process and protocols in place.
Vang is also working with council members Karina Talamantes and Eric Guerra on a separate resolution that would bar federal agents from immigration enforcement actions on city property, like parking garages and community centers. Now, I'm following the city council meeting live. Literally, it's been here streaming on my phone ever since we left the council chambers. They've moved past public comment now within the last half hour, and council members are debating updating this immigration resolution, which I have heard they are likely to do. Now, in terms of future actions, that resolution barring federal agents from acting on city property, that is something separate that would have to go to the city's Law and Legislation Committee first before returning to full city council. So that is another thing we will be following tonight, in addition to what these council members ultimately decide about the platform. Live in downtown Sacramento, Becca Habegger, ABC 10.
All right, Becca, thank you so much. A lot happening, and we will have a full recap tonight on Late News Tonight at 11. But I want to get to an update to a story that we brought you last week. You might remember this Minnesota 5-year-old and his father. Take a look at this photo. Well, a federal judge blocked their possible deportation in a ruling just yesterday. The judge said that Liam Ramos, the 5-year-old right there, cannot be imminently deported, and neither can his father. The preschooler was taken away from his family's suburban Minneapolis driveway last week after federal agents apprehended his father. The Department of Homeland Security claimed Liam's father is an illegal alien from Ecuador. Officials say that agents took the boy with them after the father said that he wanted Liam to stay with him. The two were taken to an ICE detention facility for families in Texas. An attorney for Liam's family says that the father committed no crimes and also followed all protocols for legally seeking asylum in the U.S. All right, let's take you out to Arizona, where a man is in critical condition after a shooting and a chase near the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona. According to federal law enforcement, a source there, a man got out of his truck and ran when agents tried to stop him. They say that he fired at a federal helicopter and agents. That's when agents shot him. At last check, we know that this man is in critical condition. The FBI has requested that the Pima County Sheriff's Department help to lead the use of force investigation involving this agent. Another story that we are going to continue to follow here on To The Point. All right, still ahead, a deadly federal shooting in Minneapolis that we have been talking about is now fueling a fight on Capitol Hill and threatening a government shutdown, what it means for federal workers. And TikTok settles over claims its platform hooks young users. A landmark trial against big tech begins.
And as promised yesterday, we've got a little weak system coming on in. It will bring some showers to the area, but it's not that heavy and does not last that long. I've got a full forecast breakdown after the break.
But first, in other headlines tonight, 4 people, including 2 children, were found dead today in a Rancho Cordova home off Millwater Circle. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office said that they got a call from a person reporting shots fired. Homicide detectives are now investigating, but they say they are no longer looking for any suspects. It's the end of open seating for Southwest Airlines. Their new assigned seating policy is now in effect. Travelers can pick their seats in advance for an extra charge on flights. The boarding process also changed. The airline will now board by groups like most other carriers. Amazon Fresh and Amazon Go stores are closing. The company announced plans to close its 22 brick-and-mortar stores across California. This includes the locations in Elk Grove and Roseville. The company says the stores have not met the business model it needs to expand nationwide. No word yet on when the closures will happen. That bitter cold is settling in much of the country after that massive winter storm that claimed the lives of dozens of people in 11 states. Hundreds of thousands of customers are without power in these dangerous temperatures. This storm also impacting air travel with cancellations stretching into today. American Airlines says that this storm has been the most disruptive in the airline's 100-year history, canceling more than 9,000 flights. Let's bring in meteorologist Brendan Minchef for a look at what we're tracking here too.
Yeah, nothing like what most of the country has been seeing. I've said that a few times, and I think that's okay. That's not a bad thing, right? We do finally have something a little bit more interesting to talk about here in Northern California, and that's a little bit of rain. Within the next hour to hour and a half, I expect to see some showers moving in towards Sacramento, Stockton, and Modesto. Right now, it's out across the North Bay and the coastal range. Not a lot of rain is going to fall with this system as we look at the rain that has fallen so far. I mean, Ukiah, just over 1/10 of an inch. Santa Rosa, just sprinkles, nothing measured there yet. So don't expect much. Up to 1/10 of an inch. I think that's kind of our cap here in the valley in terms of rain this evening. 53 right now in Sacramento, 49 Stockton, 55 in Modesto. Not necessarily chilly, but you'll definitely want a rain jacket if you're going to be out and about over the next 2 or 3 hours. You see Futurecast here. This is at 8 o'clock tonight. We do see some rain showers moving across the valley, and that'll continue through about 10, maybe 11 o'clock tonight, but then it's pretty quickly going to taper off from there and turn into some snow showers up near Tahoe. Snow levels will be down near about 5,500 feet, so we could see a dusting down that low, but it's not going to last all that long, and that's all we're going to get. I mean, by 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, we're done with all the snow. We're done with the rain, and we will have some clearing tomorrow, some sun because of a northerly wind that picks up. So again, most of the valley, 1/10 of an inch or less. As you work your way into the foothills, you'll be talking about up to 1/4 of an inch of rain, and for snow, a dusting to about 2 inches is all that's on the table for tonight. Clouds and Sierra flurries. Temperatures in the valley going to be in those mid-40s to start Wednesday morning. Mix of sun and clouds through Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures near 60 degrees. And in the wake of this system coming through, we're going to see a northerly wind start to develop about 15 to 20 miles per hour for tomorrow. That'll keep the fog away for the most part. But because we're going back to our regularly scheduled weather programming after the storm, high pressure is building back in. Well, that means that fog is likely to come back too as we get to the end of this week. Another quick shot of very, very light showers is possible on Sunday, but otherwise the pattern is dry and warming next week, Alex. We could be in those mid-60s.
I really am tired of the fog, though. Thanks, Brendan. Coming up after the break, TikTok is facing censorship claims. Why Governor Newsom says that he is launching an investigation, and a pivotal vote tonight could shut down one of California's largest adult charter school systems. Welcome back in. The latest deadly shooting by federal agents in Minneapolis has increased the odds of a government shutdown. Some Democrats, including California Senators Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff, are refusing to support funding for the Department of Homeland Security, while Republicans need bipartisan support to keep several key government agencies open. Brian Abel is in Washington with the latest as lawmakers face a midnight Friday deadline.
Escalating tensions between the community and federal immigration authorities in Minneapolis, now creating a battle over government funding on Capitol Hill. That could lead to a partial shutdown.
What we're witnessing right now is it's completely out of control.
The fatal shooting of Alex Preddy by federal agents appears to be the tipping point for some Democrats who are vowing to withhold votes on an appropriations package for multiple government agencies, including the Departments of Defense, Transportation, and Homeland Security, unless DHS reins in its immigration enforcement actions.
We need systemic changes here before we move forward with the appropriations.
The Democratic caucus calling for DHS funding to be separated from the other funding bills.
Take up DHS by itself. Let's have an honest negotiation, put some guardrails on what's going on, some accountability, and that would solve this problem. We don't have to have a shutdown.
The White House, so far, isn't on board.
Policy discussions on immigration in Minnesota are happening. Look, the president is leading those discussions, but that should not be at the expense of government funding for the American people.
If all Senate Republicans vote yes, they need at least 8 Democrats to join them to get the funding passed. But if the sides cannot come together by midnight Friday, once again, thousands of government workers across agencies, from the Pentagon to air traffic controllers to TSA, will be impacted. In Washington, Brian Abel reporting.
And population growth in the United States dropped last year, and immigration is mostly the reason. The Census Bureau reports the population grew by 1.8 million for the 12-month period ending last July. That's the slowest growth rate ever, aside from 2021, when COVID-19 caused deaths to soar. In the previous year, the country saw more than double the 1.25 million new immigrants added in the most recent period. If current trends continue, immigration numbers could plummet even more. Meanwhile, the birth rate has been steadily declining since the Great Recession back in 2008. All right, Congressman Kevin Kiley is narrowing down his re-election plans. Take a look at this. Kiley currently represents District 3, which is among the areas impacted by the new congressional maps approved by voters. This week, though, he announced that he will not run for District 1. Kiley says that he is supporting James Gallagher, who is running for the late Congressman Doug LaMalfa's seat. Kiley previously announced that he will also not run for District 4. So his options left are 3, 5, and 6, something our team is definitely following very closely. All right, let's get to the TikTok lawsuit. It reached a settlement today over claims that its platform was designed to be addictive to young users. This ahead of a landmark social media trial against YouTube and Meta. The case involves a 19-year-old plaintiff who sued the tech company, saying getting hooked on social media while very young led her to serious depression and even suicidal thoughts. She claims that the tech companies borrow techniques that have been used by slot machines and the cigarette industry to hook its users. The social media companies argue there are other factors that contribute to mental health of young users. High-profile executives, including Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, are expected to take the stand in the trial. And TikTok users are also raising concerns that the company is censoring videos, including ones that are critical of President Donald Trump, ICE, or even mentions of Jeffrey Epstein. The company said that it was experiencing a major infrastructure issue triggered by a power outage. And the complaints were enough for California Governor Gavin Newsom to announce on X Monday that he is launching a review into whether TikTok is violating state law by censoring Trump-critical content. Right after the break, the crucial vote that could lead to the shutdown of one of California's largest charter school systems. Tonight, a major decision could determine the future of one of California's largest adult charter school systems. The Twin Rivers Unified School District Board is voting on whether to revoke the charter status of Highlands Community Charter and Technical Schools, a process that began after an ABC 10 investigation uncovered widespread financial mismanagement, lack of oversight, and serious academic failures. The reporting led to a state audit that found Highlands received more than $180 million million in taxpayer funds that it was not eligible to collect. Now, our reporting found uncredentialed teachers, unapproved campuses, and taxpayer money spent on luxury trips and even gifts. Now, ABC 10 will have a reporter at the meeting tonight. We will bring you the latest developments on Late News tonight at 11. And if you do want to watch more about this investigation, go to our streaming app. You can watch The Wild West of Education right now for free. It's definitely an investigation you want to take a look at. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.